Paleolithic Times Part 2. Today we started off class with another reading about Paleolithic times, then we did planners and announcements, and took some time to share our hunter and gatherer haiku poems from yesterday. Those were hilarious. Then we finished off yesterday's Paleolithic Part 1 notes, so the question and the summary section. And then we did today's Paleolithic Notes Part 2. So we finished reading our chapter, the last few sections in there, and doing the outline notes. We watched a little bit of the CNN 10, and we finished up with a hunting and gathering activity in class that was a lot of fun, where we kind of simulated what it would have been like to have to rely on your ability to hunt and gather to survive. The I can statement today: I can describe human migrations. We talked a lot today about human movement from Africa all around the whole world during the last ice age. It was a time of a lot of migrations around the world. So, the first section in the book, language and art. Language, spoken language, was developed and got progressively more complex. Cave people also began to express their ideas through art. Those are mostly in the form of cave paintings. We still have a lot of these because being inside of caves, they were protected from the elements and the rain and the weather. So even thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years later, a lot of those cave paintings are still preserved for us to see. Cave paintings really have two main themes, and that's hands and herds of animals. A lot of handprints, and then of course animals will be very important and very significant in their culture and their day-to-day lives. Now, changes of the ice ages. An ice age is a long period of extreme cold, a time when glaciers covered much of the world. So much water in the ocean was actually tied up in glaciers on land that it actually caused the sea level to drop, and that low sea level exposed land bridges. Land bridges actually allowed people to walk from Asia over to the Americas. You can see on this chart that shows a large ice sheet across the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere as well. And the Earth looked a lot different back then, especially in the coastal areas and island areas. Look at Southeast Asia. You can see just how much more land is exposed on this map of the Paleolithic times, the Ice Age, than now. Here's another map, and you can see particularly in areas like Florida or South America or Southeast Asia that there was a lot more land exposed and people were able to walk and move around. Scientists think that human migration began in Africa and slowly spread from there to the other continents, Asia and Europe first, and then down to Australia, and then finally up to the Americas. You can see here on this chart as well. We think that this happened a long, long time ago. Humans first started leaving Africa and slowly moving through Europe and Asia, and then most recently over to the North and South American continents. You can see it here in this chart from our history book as well. So, people were able to walk from Asia over to the Americas because of the land bridges. How did ice ages affect humans? Well, the ice ages were super cold, and so there was a lot of lack of food. There was not a lot of food around, and we had to compete with a lot of other hunters like wolves for the limited amount of food that was there. So humans really had to adapt to survive. Some ways that we did that was to have a diet of more animal fats. We also built better shelters. We began to make warm clothing with furs and with the bone needle, and then we used fire to stay warm. The last ice age lasted for a period of 90,000 years, so it was a very long time of extreme cold. We're still just coming out of the last ice age. Now, we ended the day talking about Ötzi, the Iceman. Back in 1991, some German hikers were just hiking along in the Alps mountains, kind of between Switzerland, Italy, Germany, and they saw protruding from the ice kind of a skeleton body, and they were alarmed, so they informed police, and police went up and checked on it and informed scientists and researchers, and they came up, and what they found actually was a body that happened to be over 5,000 years old. They nicknamed him Ötzi, the Iceman, because that's the name of the mountain range he was found. Well, in studying Ötzi the Iceman, we were able to learn a lot about what life was like in those times by analyzing the skin and the teeth of the Iceman, as well as there was actually still food in his stomach, so we could see what kind of things that they ate. But of course, it just led to many more unanswered questions. He was found with a lot of really neat tools as well. There was a bow and several arrows, shoes, a little bit of clothing. There was a bone knife, but also an axe with a metal blade. We watched the CNN 10 for a little bit, and then we did our hunting and gathering activity. We spread out around the class little Pepperidge Farm goldfish and Skittles. The goldfish represented protein, hunting animals, fishing, and the fruits and vegetables were represented by the Skittles. And I hid them all over my class, and the kids had to go around and they had to hunt and gather in just a few seconds enough food, enough protein and fruits and vegetables to make it through the day. And anyone who didn't get enough to survive in the 30 seconds that we had to hunt and gather, they just didn't make it back. They didn't live through the day, so it was just a fun activity.